Hello, Pastor John. Paul instructs us to correct opponents with gentleness, hoping that God may grant them repentance in 2 Timothy 2:25. But when I look around, especially online, it seems like so much correction, even from Christians, is harsh, sarcastic, or aggressive.
Obviously, arguing is very important and disagreeing, otherwise, we won't get to the truth. But it's been shocking to see what level people argue at. Like, if you look at how to argue, the top echelons there, refuting the central point right at the top, refutation, what they say there, finding a mistake and supporting it by quoting the author, counter argument, contradicting with reason and evidence. And then you start going down the list, right down to the bottom. Let's start at the bottom, name calling. That is so common. And then the second one, ad hominem, or whatever they call that, attacking the writer personally, like saying the person is stupid or a loser or whatever. It really seems that people argue right at the bottom levels instead of the top levels of refuting the central point, contradicting with evidence. It seems that they argue without evidence and they abuse and revile. It seems like many people and families and organizations and bosses and employees have an absolute stupid way of arguing. Look what it says here. Neurologists claim that every time you resist acting on your anger, that pain you're feeling, resisting on that, you're actually rewiring your brain to be calmer and more loving. The problem is people who are acting out on that and becoming more and more ungodly are actually rewiring their brains to become more and more aggressive.
I've even seen this happen in private conversations where people think boldness means being blunt or even rude. How do we correct with gentleness without compromising truth? What does that look like in the situations where someone is being openly hostile or spreading false teaching? Is there ever a time when strong, sharp words are appropriate, or should we always aim for a soft approach? I also wonder about my own heart. How can I recognize when my correction is driven by pride, frustration, or a desire to win an argument rather than by love? What are the dangers of correcting out of anger instead of godly patience?
Surely everyone who reads the Bible in a thoughtful way feels the challenge that, on the one hand, godly people are to give a soft answer that turns away wrath, Proverbs 15. Be kind to one another and tender-hearted, Ephesians 4. Not to return evil for evil, but bless, 1 Peter 3. Be long-suffering and patient and forgive 70 times 7, Matthew 18. Correct opponents with gentleness, 2 Timothy 2. And yet, the challenge goes on. On the other hand, the godly are to rebuke with all authority, Titus 2. Rebuke sharply, Titus 1:13. Deal severely with adversaries in the use of authority, sometimes, 2 Corinthians 13. Assign to damnation those who resist correction and preach another gospel. Let them be accursed, Galatians 1:8. So what are we to make of this both and of gentleness and severity, tenderness and toughness? First, there are different kinds of people calling for different kinds of response. There are wolves about to devour the sheep, and there are sheep. Admonish the idle, encourage the faint-hearted, help the weak, be patient with them all, 1 Thessalonians 5:14. That does not mean that you get to deal harshly with all harsh people and gently with gentle people. The gentle might need a very firm word, and a soft word just might be what breaks the back of the hardest resistance. It just means that there are different kinds of people in different situations one size just doesn't fit all. Second, it's utterly crucial that we admit and feel the depth of our own sinfulness in disputes with other people. This may be the most important thing I have to say, at least for myself. One of my greatest warnings against clever, sarcastic, entertaining, effective put-downs of my adversary is that I enjoy it way too much. That's a warning. The fact that corrective repartee comes easily and tears come with difficulty is a sign of a deep problem inside John Piper and should put the brakes on a lot of what I am about to say. Acts 20:31 says that Paul admonished people with tears. Philippians 3:8 says that he spoke of the enemies of the cross with tears. Romans 9:2 says he spoke with great sorrow and anguish of heart about his lost kinsman. It's the absence of tears that tells me I may not be ready for severe speech toward other people. Third, our culture is emotionally soft, and we need to keep this in mind. I think we have our feelings hurt more quickly than the people of Jesus' day or 60 years ago. A lot of people today would accuse Jesus of verbal abuse, flat out. He shouldn't talk like that, period. It triggers me. Fourth, God looks on the heart. He assesses the motive of our soft word or our tough word. When Paul threatened to deal severely with the church at Corinth in 2 Corinthians 13:10, he spoke of his authority as given to him for upbuilding you, not for tearing you down. So motive matters.
So let's go through a few scriptures here. At the top there, control your temper, for anger labels you a fool. Do you want to know how to identify a fool, to know who is a fool? Anger labels you a fool. Then Proverbs 23, do not speak in the hearing of a fool, for he will despise the wisdom of your words. Interesting here. Don't even try. Fools despise wisdom. Look what it says here in Proverbs 22 at the top. Do not make friends with a hot-tempered person. Do not associate with one easily angered. Do not make friends with a hot-tempered person, and do not even associate with one easily angered. People are marrying people like this, never mind making them their friends. They're employing people like this. They are taking bosses who are like this. And then Proverbs 12, whoever loves discipline loves knowledge, but whoever hates correction is stupid. You want to know how to identify who is a stupid person? They hate correction. They cannot take correction. They play the victim. They get angry. This labels you stupid, says the Bible.